Individualization, we mean the bringing out of our own individual characteristics, which will set you apart from every other person and enable you to fulfill your purpose in life. You will never attain a high degree of spiritual development until you learn to individualize yourself. The injunction we sometimes hear, "Be yourself," is a wise command, but few heed it. The average person is trying to be someone else, and that is one reason for so many failures in life's pathway. From childhood, man has been taught to look without for everything. He has never been taught the priceless value of his own inner self and the method by which he may bring this self into expression. He advances through life admiring the aping first one person and then another until there is scarcely anything of his own characteristics left in his possession. They become what everybody wants them to become or expects them to be. That's the rigors of society and their mode of what they think everybody should be to fit the mold.
Boy, and that's a powerful force too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. We were just talking about stereotypes.
Yeah, and that encompasses enculturation.
Mm.
You know, this is the way our culture is, and that's the way you'll act.
Mm.
There is a center within each individual around which his life is intended to revolve. The evolving of this center will bring success and satisfactory results to the individual. Regardless of what appearances may be, this spark from infinite life will attain its purpose if allowed to develop naturally.
Yeah. Regardless of what appearances may be, what does that mean?
Going back over this, there is a center within each individual around which his life is intended to revolve. Okay? The evolving of this center will bring success and satisfactory results to the individual. Regardless of what appearances may be, all right, regardless of how this manifests.
Yeah, I got it now. I don't know why I didn't catch
Yeah.
it.
This spark from infinite life will attain its purpose if allowed to develop naturally. The method generally pursued, however, is something like this. One may take an inventory of himself and find many things that are unsatisfactory. These unsatisfactory conditions may relate to his appearance, mental attainments, social qualifications, or anything else in which they feel himself deficient. Upon looking about him, he sees those who possess everything which he believes he lacks. So he begins to appropriate to himself the style of dress of one, the manner of voice and speech of another, the expression of countenance of another, and so on, until he is a mixture of several people, none of whose vibrations are entirely harmonious with the others. The consequences are that his own vibrations are so intermingled with others that he is no longer himself, nor is he the expression of the characteristics which he has attempted to assume. In essence, you can't be everything to everybody at the same time. As a result, he is not genuine and continues to be unsuccessful because he attracts to himself people who are like himself and experiences based upon falsehood and the unreal. A country girl unaccustomed to society may be very charming among her own friends at home, possessing good manners, refinement, and culture, but if she is thrown in a social way through a city's aristocracy, she becomes embarrassed, awkward, and almost uncouth. The difficulty is that when she is placed in the strange environment, she becomes self-conscious and can no longer be herself. If she did not perceive the difference in her mode of living and theirs, she would move among her new associates with ease and grace and would still be attractive because she would be expressing her true self.
Okay,
Yeah.
So when it says she becomes embarrassed, awkward, and almost uncouth, that is all in her mind.
Yeah, and when compared,
that is her illusion.
and she's comparing herself to the society she's she's in, and compared to their level of their manners and mannerisms and whatnot, then she looks upon herself, or others look upon her as being uncouth and all of that because she doesn't have the social mores.
And some people are going to look at her like that, but she's just got to.
Yeah.
She's just got to let them.
Right.
trip because that's their thing.
Yeah, that's their thing, yeah. Yeah, she's, in essence, she's gotta be herself. You know, when you are you're a genuine person, all right, and you're comfortable with who you are and what you are, other people will sense that in you. But if you try to change yourself to be what they think you should be, you're creating a false image, and it's a very shallow image, and you become self-conscious because once you start, you know, that's the problem with creating a false image. It's maintaining it and maintaining consistency of it. So when you start a fabrication, you have to make sure that all the fabrications following it adhere to the initial fabrication. Otherwise, at some point, it all breaks down, or you leave. Okay?
Yep. That's awesome.
The rose, the lily, and the violet are all beautiful flowers, but each of them is beautiful because it persists in being itself. We would not like the rose so well if it had the long leaves of the lily, or hugged the earth as does the violet. The bushy shrub, the leaf shape, and the flexible stem, as well as the blossom itself, all belong to the rose and individualize it, giving it value. Artists try to catch unaware children for their models, painting them while at play. This is the only way to find children at their best. If they knew their pictures were being painted, they would become so self-conscious they would be worthless as models. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Many books have been written on overcoming self-consciousness, but the secret is very simple. Simply establish within yourself the consciousness of your own importance. You are in the world for a specific purpose. You are particularly adapted for doing a certain kind of work. You have outstanding characteristics and are fitted to succeed if you find your right place. So far as is possible, work along the lines for which you seem to have the greatest adaptability. In your pleasures and pastimes, as well as in your work, follow your own individual preference, so long as it does not interfere with the rights or welfare of others. Horseback riding may be a splendid exercise for some, but if I do not enjoy it, prefer a game of golf or a quiet hour of reading, why should I ride horseback just because others do? It will give you some attention to you, if you will give some little attention to your tendencies with reference to work, dress, social duties, and all the details of life, and endeavor to be true to yourself in all you do, you will in time find a thread of harmony running through all the departments of your life. Your clothes should be a part of you and should help bring out your individuality. Sometimes we see a person wearing a certain color that is at warfare with their vibrations. Oh, we have range of awareness here. He may be aware that something is wrong, but does not know what the trouble is. He has seen some other person wearing that particular color and admired it, so he adopts it with various unsatisfactory results. Always be yourself, and always be the same self. Do not change yourself to suit the occasion. By being one person one time and another at another time, you destroy your poise and equilibrium, creating discord within yourself.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Wait, yes.
But that, I'm having a problem with that.
Okay, how?
Well, the first example that comes to mind is, you know, what if you're rambunctious, which I can most certainly be, and then but I wouldn't want to be that like here, because we're trying to learn. I would be disruption. Well, or what about even a job interview? Or a first date?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, okay, wait, just give me a second.
Okay.
Basically, it's just saying don't be fake. It's just saying,
Yeah.
saying don't pretend to be something you're not.
Be genuine.
Yeah,
Be yourself.
yeah.
You know, it's like, I endeavor to be as genuine as I can be. What you see is exactly what I am. I don't put on pretense. I don't feel that it's necessary to do that. And if somebody doesn't like me the way I am, that's not my problem. I like me. And that's what really counts.
Okay.
I guess you can like show different sides of your personality though, according to what
Yeah.
you're doing at the
Or
time.
your mood.
As long as
Yeah.
it's you.
Right, as long as it's you and it's not something that you've manufactured or generated for the benefit of somebody else.
Yep. All right.
Okay?
Yep.
Let's see.
Be the same.
Yeah. Be the same self to the one who occupies a much higher position in life than yours, and to the one who is much lower from the material standpoint. Be gracious to the king and also to the servant, but be yourself to both. Some people cringe in the face of those they consider their superiors, but domineering to their so-called inferiors. In their true expression, they would be neither one nor the other, for they would realize that all life is one life. The effort to get away from ourselves and appear to be something we are not is playing havoc in the world. The leaders in style and social life play upon this weakness. It produces standardized education, mannerisms, amusements, etc. Those who move in certain circles of society all speak very much alike. Certain tones of voice and accent are cultivated, and by listening to these people converse, one can catalog them and tell their social status. But why should they be so much alike in voice and manners? This certainly was not true in their early youth, before they were molded into the acceptable social patterns. It is possible to be highly cultured and yet remain natural in voice and manner. And along this line, it calls to mind the movie with Cary Grant, Father Goose. And it's a World War II movie, and he was a college professor, and he ran away from it all, and somebody asked him why did you do that? And he said, well, you know, everybody in the class looked alike, they all sounded alike, they all talked alike, and they dressed alike, wore ties and all that, and he said, I realized that, you know, they were just all the same, and they weren't learning anything. There was no individuals there. They all were just, you know, blanks. And he said, I had enough of it. So he just ran away from it. Decide where you belong and the kind of person you are going to be, then be that person all the time. This individualization of yourself gives you power. Jesus did not attempt to be someone else. He was always himself, always the same. The source of his power was realization of his divinity and his abiding within himself. He might have awed the multitude more if he had aped the members of the Sanhedrin or the Roman rulers, but he preferred to remain his own true self, and by that principle he lived and died. Intensity of purpose helps to strengthen one's individual characteristics. People who are shallow and live on the surface are affected more easily by the currents of thought that sweep around them than those with deep convictions and clear-cut ideals, just as the direction of a brook is more easily changed than is the deep-cut channel of a mighty river. The great men of all time have stood out singly from the masses. They have belonged to all time and all people rather than to the particular period in which they lived. It is sometimes said that they are years in advance of their time. The truth is that they have permitted themselves to become an open channel for the expression of universal mind and are so engrossed with the magnitude of the work they envision that they are more or less unmindful of their material existence. They are functioning on a very high plane. The principles involved in the preceding lessons of this course of study should have done much to help you individualize yourself. If you practice the suggestions given in the lessons on thinking and meditation, you will be moving away from the rank and file of people. We do not mean that there will be any marked difference at first, except in your consciousness. But little by little, this consciousness will bring about a changed environment, and if you continue to unfold, the distance between yourself and the masses will become greater. Your life will come to be the embodiment of a single purpose and not the hit and miss affair of the average person. And I think we've experienced that you draw, like minds attract like minds. And, you know, it's like the shallow person attracts shallow people around them. Every time you permit your individualism to be changed, you weaken yourself. If you want strength, respect yourself and remain true to yourself at all times and under all circumstances. Matthew Arnold beautifully expressed this thought in his poem, Self-Dependence. Resolve to be thyself and know that he who finds himself loses his misery. When you meditate, take the thought, I am myself, and give the subject careful consideration during the quiet hour. Continue the statements as given in the preceding lessons, adding, I am myself. Okay? Any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I do, let's see, people are shallow on the surface. All right, here's something I've struggled with a lot. All right, so I don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of my thoughts and ideas about what I think is going on, because I know from experience that a lot of times people are wrong.
Yeah.
So where do you find security in knowing?
Be secure with yourself.
But how can you be secure when you know that what you think you know isn't necessarily reality?
What's reality? Reality
I mean,
is,
what are you being secure with? What are you being secure in if you know that how much you can see that everything's an illusion? How can you have any stability or control? Or I mean, not control. You know, confidence in anything.
if you,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Sorta.
I'm really embarrassed right
No,
now.
I know what you're saying.
This is like-
if all right, you have an inner self, all right,
Yeah.
and it's connected to creation,
Okay.
all right, and if you operate on the premise that this divine creation will not deceive or mislead.
Okay. All right. You know what I just realized? I'm talking. Okay. I just realized a huge thing. I'm putting a lot of my faith in my mental faculties
Yes.
instead of the inner spiritual stuff that I know to be true. Like how it talks earlier in here about even if you're meditating, even if you don't feel peaceful, feel the peace underneath.
Right.
It's okay.
See, when you start rationalizing, that's when you start, you know, that becomes the start of conflict, because your rationalization says, well, this can't be true.
It's like the
But
brain
it's-
versus
Yeah.
the mind, right?
But
Right.
it says intensity of purpose. If you can't trust anything that your brain thinks, then how can you know what that purpose is?
Well, it's like, in my instance, I gave up material existence to be what I felt my inner self guiding me to be. And that is to be my own self, to be a servant to creation in all of its forms, and to be of assistance in any way possible that I could be to anyone who asked for help. I never volunteered help. I always made it a mandate that you have to ask me. And then I will ask you, what have you done to help yourself first? If you listen to that inner voice, and in time you will, I mean, it will be like a loudspeaker in your mind, and it will guide you and tell you what you should be doing. Or maybe perhaps not tell you, but suggest what you should be doing. You ultimately make the decision.
Well, okay, so we are to control our thinking to control our emotions, but then if the emotions are not to control them, but to keep on a positive, constructive path.
Right.
But and then the thinking, is also what helps put you on that path. But if you can't trust,
Well, not necessarily. You don't, thinking doesn't really have to figure into it, because if, you know, it's like, well, like I said much earlier, you know, if you, when you begin the seeking of the Creator, know that the Creator has already found you and given you the drive to find it. And it's that inner voice, it's an inner thing that you feel. I mean, different people, it affects different ways. In my instance, I felt compelled to give up a very lucrative job and security like you can't imagine, and just surrender all of that and say, this is not what I am.
and that was your path, yeah.
Yeah, and I trust the universe to say, all right, here I am. Do with me what you will. And a situation like that requires a hell of a lot of trust, because you're giving yourself to trusting something that is so external to yourself, after being involved in a life where you only trusted your own judgment and what you could put your hands on
Yeah.
and measure. So it's a totally different universe, and it takes. For most people, it takes a lot of guts, because, you know, the security is, you know, you get in, you know, society and culturation, you know, they stress security and all the physical things that are associated with the material things, and then to just one day say, I give all of that up, I surrender it, because that is not me.
Did you have a lot of flack with people?
Well, when the last right before I started, after I got back from Nam, after my 5 years there, I went back to my folks' home, and I packed a small bag, and they said, you know, what were my plans? And I said, first off, I am not your son. I am here in his place, and I have work to do. And you will never see me again.
Have you seen
I turned around and walked out, and then I set upon the path that I felt I needed to be on. And it was not until there are two brothers, and the middle brother I knew in Nam, but we only talked once every 25 years, and it was back in the late 90s. I found out that the parents had died, and you know, there was no feeling there, because I was not part of that family unit. I knew I wasn't.
You came in when you were,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And there was nothing that I could have said to explain to them what was going on.
Yeah. Sometimes words just don't do it.
Well, yeah, you just, you know, it's like in the same, and not making any allusion to direct association, but it's like the same situation with Jesus. He told his father, you know, I am about my Father's work. And his father was a carpenter, and he wasn't picking up an awl or doing anything, so he just gave, you know, trust that he knew what he was doing, or what he was supposed to be doing. And it's that time, you know, not everyone can do that type of commitment, because you're really just tossing everything to the wind and saying,
You're really out on your own with the
Yeah.
universe.
yeah, you're placing a trust in something that is so much more than what you are. And you have to trust that it's, you know, it's infinite good.
I was there not too long ago, but the problem that I ran into that time is things happened that I didn't want.
Right.
So I grew from those things, but because it didn't go in a direction that I thought I should go in, it's almost like I clammed up like a shell, you know, and now I'm having a hard time. If I get there again, hopefully I'll be better at not trying my own will. Hopefully I can have more success my own will, not trying to dictate which direction I go, you know, and
Yeah.
what happens and stuff.
See, sometimes it's like, your computer games, you get a do-over.
Yeah. You get to go to the last checkpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a rather, it's a rather light way of thinking about it, but,
Yeah.
The universe.
And you're wiser because you know which pitfalls not to,
Yeah.
you know, and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or like the undo key on Word or.
Yeah, or like the person who continues to do the same thing over and over again, hoping to get a different result.
Yeah, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
But like I say, it literally, depending on your individual past, if you choose to dedicate yourself to a path of esoterics and serving the universe instead of serving yourself, it takes a lot of guts. I mean, it requires a self-assuredness that the universe, that as long as you're doing the work faithfully, the universe will provide for you. I have found that to be true in my own personal life. And I'm not saying that there haven't been difficulties, but the difficulties, you make a learning experience, a growing experience.
Seems like we're constantly having to struggle between that like reptilian brain that wants to see nothing but logic in the mind, that's the part that's actually spiritually connected with the universal mind.
Yeah.
We're always like going back and forth between the two, but I guess meditation is the only way to actually get total contact
Well, it's a
with the
yeah.
mind.
Yeah. And you speak of the reptilian, that takes us back to the Pritani, who were the original first inhabitants here, supposedly.
And came from.
But they were higher than cavemen, right? I mean, they
Well,
were more advanced than cavemen, right?
Yeah. There were, according to certain philosophies, there will be 7 generations on this world, and this is I think the 5th generation. The first generation were the Pritani. They were from another world, and following them were the Lemurians, and then the Atlanteans, and then the current. We're the 4th. This is the 4th civilization.
Aryans.
Yeah, and the Aryan, true.
How did you, what were the first ones?
The Pritani.
Did they actually come from
Yeah, they were.
another?
Yeah, and supposedly they were reptilian.
Some people think they're still under our crust.
Yeah, well, there's the enigma of Mount Shasta.
Yeah. Huh.
What about
Mount Shasta, I mean, there's been an enigma about that since the 1800s.
What's the enigma?
Well, first off, Mount Shasta, I don't know if you know anything about it, is a single mountain in Northern California sitting on the landscape. I mean, there's nothing else around it, no other mountains around it. It's just there. And I've been there. I've experienced Mount Shasta, and that's the only way to talk about it,
I
to
have
experience.
too.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
and they say that there are stories that go back to the 1800s that there were people who would come down from Mount Shasta. They were taller than normal people. They were of fairer skin, and they brought down large quantities of gold, pure gold. And people had tried to find out where they came from, but no one successfully that I know of ever tracked them down. And what the story is that they are the remnants of the Atlantean Empire, or the Atlantean continent before it was destroyed. And they found refuge deep within Mount Shasta. And they're an extremely advanced civilization, and there's been records of a lot of UFO activity in that area where UFOs have literally been spoken of as disappearing into the side of the mountain.
Huh.
But supposedly, there's a civilization that lives deep underground in the mountain, and well, my experience with it is, now Mount Shasta is like several miles from the nearest little town, and at night, on a clear night, you can hear temple bells where there are no temples,
Oh, interesting. Wow.
and you can hear it just drifting on the wind. But it's very definitive temple sounds, temple bell sounds.
My husband used to go hunting not too far from here. First time I went up that way, I wasn't into metaphysics, I was so lonely. There was something so different about the energy
Yeah.
around Mount Shasta.
It is
Yeah, it's
very
a very
different.
I
magical.
didn't know what it was, but I
Mm.
thought,
Yeah, that's the stories. I mean, there are fantastic stories of circumstances and events occurring around that place. It's mystical, magical, however you want to look.
It's in California?
Yeah, Northern California.
It still is.
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to go water skiing on the lake there every single summer.
And there's a ski bowl there, and
Yeah, that's where I know it from, because my brother used to go,
Yeah.
but,
Are you
Yeah.
from California too?
yeah.
Oh, what part?
Well, I was born in Mountain View.
I'm trying to think, where's?
Northern.
Mhm.
Is it
I'm part of
anywhere
an
near
Indian
the-
tribe that's from Northern.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it near the Bay Area?
No, no.
No, it's way north.
Oh,
Yeah.
northern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like before the
Like,
redwoods.
like 20 minutes this side of Oregon.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
side of
okay.
Oregon.
Okay.
South of
It's
Oregon.
further up than
On the coast.
Yeah.
I know I've been to the Cove
Yeah, I think Highway 5 runs through the area somewhere there.
I'm not sure.
Interstate 5 runs up the
It
coast.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
And Mount Shasta, you can see from miles away, because
Yeah.
it's the only mountain there.
It is, so.
Yeah.
All by itself.
What mountain is by Seattle? It's all Olympus.
Is that
Olympus?
Rainier or something?
Rainier.
Is it
Right here.
Rainier?
That one's weird.
That one's kind of strange too.
But,
I've never been up it though.
Yeah, because it's just kind of up there all by itself, but
Yeah.
in a different way. This is like in a flat area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just this one mountain sitting
That's
right.
wild.
And, I mean, and you can see it
That's
from the coast,
massive.
and there have been people who have said they've seen Yeti there, and other strange
Maybe
things.
it's a portal to.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah, there's all kinds of speculation.
But
Uh,
just-
It's
Interesting. I have never heard about that.
completely melts, does it?
Not that I know of.
Well, on the rain.
mm-mm.
Right.
But the interactions that locals back in the 1800s had with people from the mountain, they just just have phenomenal tales.
Huh. Well, I wonder why they were coming out then, but they're not now.
Who says they're not?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot we don't
Oh, well, why would they bring down gold?
Well, they had so much of it. To them, it was nothing.
Well, supposedly we were like created as a slave,
Well,
race
that's
to mine gold for
Yeah.
outer space beings.
well, that's a supposition. That's a
I mean,
possibility.
I've read a bunch of books like that anyway. I don't know how true it is, but
See,
it's
and-
interesting philosophy.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I've never
there
heard
are
of that
all
one.
kinds of interesting stories. And the only thing that one can say is, you just have to experience Mount Shasta.
And the Tetons too.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
was it- I didn't
I
want
haven't
to
been
leave.
there
It's like, it haunts me and it
Mm.
calls me back there.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
been sad.
Where are those?
The Tetons
Yeah.
are in
Utah.
Washington.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were in
Not
Utah.
Washington, I'm sorry, Wyoming.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Is it where the four come together like?
The Four Corners.
No.
No,
That's desert.
they're actually in Wyoming.
Well,
Wait.
my son lived on the Idaho side, but the mountains were right there. And
Oh.
Table Mountain, you could see, was one little cut
They go into Utah too, don't they?
off. I'm not sure if they do
Hmm.
or not. They might. Because it's quite a ways down
Hmm.
in southern Idaho. They
Mhm.
may.
Hmm.
Are they part of Yellowstone, the Tetons?
I think right by Yellowstone, they're in Jacksonville. But there's something about them, it's like they do somehow.
I should strike out words in more light of them when I live here. I'm always leaving here instead of checking out the state.
So we all good?
Yeah,
Good.
don't want to leave.